So today I am in a marshy woodland near my home. It has a lot of small ponds, not very fast moving, very filled up with tannins, and I've been wanting to see sort of what the amphibian populations are like around here. I've got beautiful carpet moss everywhere, stargazer's moss, swan's head moss, swan's neck moss rather, and I love it. It's one of my happy places. So I thought I'd come out today. It's a little bit earlier in the year to be seeing any amphibians out and about. At the moment it is early March, so there might be a couple, but most of them will still be in brumation, hibernation, whatever you want to call it. So I started looking around, turning up some of the bigger logs to see if there was anything obvious. Couldn't really find anything. I know that there are newts here because, well, there were at one point, because when I was younger, my sister fell in and got a newt in her welly boot. So I know that there are, at least have been, amphibians here, and it is a good spot for them. It's beautiful. I'll show you around in a little while. But I wanted to see if there was any now and see if we could sort of help increase the population in any way, sort of clearing out any of the waterways or sort of, you know, dispersing some of the frog spawn into sort of more healthy locations if it's looking a little bit like, probably shouldn't be there. Just gonna feel. So I came, started turning things over, and wasn't much, like I said. But as I was already disturbing the woodland, I was looking around and there was just a lot of logs and stuff everywhere. We'd had a lot of wind and rain last year, and I think there's been a lot of tree fall. But while a single log can be used as a place for different species to hibernate, it doesn't provide much structure. It's kind of just one and done. And as there are some beautiful sort of marshes around here, I thought, okay, let's see if we can sort of make a couple Hibernaculums. So I made one, a little small, and thought, okay, let's find a bit of a healthier waterway and hope that there are some amphibians around here. So I've made a bit of a larger one out of rotting. It's mainly silver birch in this forest and oak, small oaks, some pines as well. Got a lot of fallen oak leaves, a lot of silver birch leaves, and there's pine needles. They sort of degrade pretty quickly. So yeah, I'll show you what I've made and go through my reasoning, show you some moss, and some of the marshes. The marshes don't look very impressive at this point, unfortunately, but they do get a lot prettier sort of as the year goes by. It is a beautiful day today, as you can see around me. Today is the 5th of March. I'm on my lunch break at the moment. And yeah, let's get started. So this is the woodland. It's a marshy woodland that also has sand dunes. It's mainly, like I said, constituted of silver birch, bit of oak and pine. I'm just going to show you some of the mosses first before we go into the Hibernaculum itself. So I am not a moss expert. I like it. I use it in my terrariums and vivariums, so I know a couple of them and I know how they tend to perform. But apart from that, I don't really know much else. So this one here is called swan's neck moss. It feels lovely running your hand over it. You can see it's got these lovely swooping swan's neck, which is why it's called that. It's made of these little rosette buds at the base. Very simple. But then it sort of, I don't know if these are seed pods or what they are, but I do really like them. And then it's a bit dry at the moment, so it's not at its best, but it is blooming. When it is either colder or really hot, these tend to go very pale and kind of wither away. So the fact that it's in bloom at the moment means that it's probably doing all right. So then if I move over to this tree stump, this is what covers most of the forest around here. So I just call it carpet moss. I don't know what it is. That's actually a different species there, that little starry-eyed stuff. But yeah, this is the sphagnum moss. At the moment, like I said, it's fairly dry, which is why I'm able to sit on the ground. I would not be able to do that otherwise. And yeah, it sort of creeps up the tree trunks. I'll sort of show you a little bit. That's my bucket, don't worry. So yeah, this is, and then we come to the marsh over here, which I'll show you in a second. If we go over to the marsh, I'll show you a beautiful species that I absolutely love, and I don't know what it's called. It's this. And it has these lovely little florets and then these long legs underneath. And underneath it looks very much like sphagnum. This bit's open because I moved a piece into the Hibernaculum. So when I'm sort of making these structures, I like to provide as much of an ecosystem as possible. Oh, there's a lovely little spider. Hello, darling. There we go. Oh, off she goes. Probably towards me. So yeah, I try to take as little as possible. I don't like to disturb things, but when you're creating a habitat like a hibernaculum, you need to use natural resources. So in this patch here, I've taken about a third of it, and then this will regrow over here and seal that sort of wound. So yeah, this moss I do not know the name of, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I love these little top pieces. Really, really pretty. So I think at the moment where I am, there's not many other species. This one that I just talked about, it does go right up to the water's edge, as you can see there. It gets darker as it gets a bit more sodden. It wicks the water quite well, I think. So I think that's why it's growing near the marsh, as it's sort of trying to get as much of that moisture as possible. But yeah, there's not a load of other species in this part of the forest. There is a massive area of mossy woodland sort of just over there. Really beautiful carpet moss and other species as well. One of those starry-eyed ones that I said about. But yeah, as it is, that's sort of where we're at. So just while I'm here, this is what the marshes look like. So they tend to be fairly long. They, I assume, are actually more of a stream that's dried into ponds. I think throughout the year it does sort of rise and fall quite a bit because we get a good amount of rain around here. We are not a very hilly county. I live in Norfolk. It's known for its large skies, as in flatlands. Not quite as flat as the Fens, but you know, we're getting there. But in this area, specifically in the marshland, because of sort of how things rise and fall, and you know, this is a stream, and you know, streams form the oxbows, things like that. Even though this is a very small one, it does still create quite a loping landscape. So there are lots of these little mounds everywhere, and I just think those are made up of fallen trees, humus, however you want to say it, humus, and that is this stuff, the really light, airy organic matter. It's just packed full of nutrients and seeds and bioactivity. Really, really good stuff. And then as you come sort of up to the water's edge, it's really filled with tannins, this stuff. I'll go to a sunny spot. Here. I'll try and get out my shadow. So yeah, like I said, it's filled with tannins. So very dark at the moment. And most of these are oak leaves. And then we've got as well, there are birch leaves, there we are. Silver birch leaves. It's not a super old forest. We are near a much older one, so I think some of the older oak trees sort of are a remnant of that time. Just spotted a lovely big nest up there, which is nice. Try and get my camera back. Oh god, get my camera back to normal. There we are. We get a lot of birds of prey around here. That's one calling in the background if you can hear it. Let's see if we can get it. There it is. Just flying around. We've got a lot of red kites. What else? We've got hawks, sparrowhawks. What's the one that's like a vulture? I forget what it's called. Alex would know. But yeah, so down here we've got these reeds. And there is some water mint around here. I saw it. In this pond it's pretty... I wouldn't say it's sort of anaerobic completely, because I have seen little flicks of things and pond skaters and things like that. At the moment it's not super active. It's about 9 degrees at the moment. You know, it is heating up. I think we are due for another cold spell or two though, so I should think things will hold out till a little bit later in the year. But it does make for a beautiful landscape. I absolutely love it. So now that I've talked your ears off about moss, let's go to the Hibernaculum. So this is the Hibernaculum. I've made two. This is the larger of them. The other two I will show you in a minute. It's much smaller. And this is made of larger decaying logs, smaller twigs, moss, leaves, and I've also recycled some of the dead reeds from last year because they're a really good sort of straw-like texture. So we typically start with some, well, there is a way to do it, but I tend to do a couple of big ones at the bottom to make kind of like a retaining wall and stop the wind from coming out, and then I'll pack that with lots of live matter, whether that be sort of leaves, reeds, bit of moss. As you can see, I've sort of transplanted some of the moss onto here to hopefully provide a little bit of insulation. The whole point of the hibernaculums is to provide a space, one, for organisms to live, breed and thrive. So we're talking woodlice, spiders, earwigs, all of those detritivores that make the soil health incredible. And their second purpose, which is why they're called the hibernaculum, is because they are a place for species to hibernate. Again, whether that be arthropods, am I thinking the right word? No, I'm not. Spiders is what I'm trying to say. Arachnids, there we go. Arachnids, insects, or amphibians. Also some mammals. I'm not a big mammal person. Not that I don't like them, I just don't know much about them, so I won't speak on them. But amphibians in the UK, I think we have 6 species. I'm trying to think. So we've got the common frog, which is it Rana tempora? Rana temporaria. Rana temporaria. We have the common toad, Bufo bufo, which are adorable. We have in Norfolk, where I am, we actually have the natterjack toad, which is a very highly protected species. They do not live in this type of environment. They live more on the sandy beaches. I have seen some. They are really cool. We also have pond frogs. I think they're pool frogs, which we do have a colony of in Norfolk as well. Not sort of one that's been there in the wild. I think they were reintroduced as they had gone functionally extinct, as had natterjacks. Then we have European green tree frogs, which, again, functionally extinct, but have been reintroduced in certain places. They are native to the UK, especially when we used to have some warmer summers. I know that there is a colony or two down in the south coast. They really like the warmer temperatures. They are European mainland frogs. We do have them here in the warmer places though, and they are gorgeous. They're green. They look, I don't know if any of you know what a White's tree frog is. They are native to Australia and Indonesia. But they look a lot like the young morphs, you know, sort of the very young juvenile White's tree frogs. They're green and they have a black mask around their face. They're gorgeous and they get to about that big, 2 inches. I'm hoping in the future to have some of my own. I am an amphibian herpetologist, so I keep certain species of frogs. I have a snake as well. Then also in the UK, coming back to the point I was trying to make, you have slow worms, which is not an amphibian, I know, but I thought they deserved a mention because they are amazing. Slow worms are not worms, and they certainly aren't that slow. They are actually legless reptiles. So they are reptiles, they're not snakes. They look like snakes, but they're not. They have eyelids, they have a different type of tongue. I don't know loads about them, but they are incredible species. I was talking about frogs, wasn't I? If you couldn't tell, I have ADHD. I get distracted quite a lot. So come back to the point. Species. So we've covered common frog, common toads, natterjacks, pool frogs. Oh, we haven't talked about newts. God, newts, amphibians. So you have got your smooth newt, which the females look very similar to the female great crested newts. Then you've got your palmate newt. And they are, again, fairly similar, a lot lighter in colour. Fun fact, you cannot distinguish the spawn of smooth newts and palmate newts. They are indistinguishable, according to the sources that I've read. I'm sure that someone who's an expert could probably tell the difference, but in general, to the common eye, they are very similar. So those are the ones that I can remember off the top of my head. I think there are a couple of different ones. I have heard of people keeping fire-bellied newts in the UK, sort of like outside. I think at the moment it's a bit cold for that, so I don't know how much success you'd have really. But yeah, common frogs, which are one of the, so Rana temporaria, they're one of the species that I'm trying to get into at the moment. They have a couple of different morphs. They typically come in the common heterozygous morph, which is, you know, brown. In the wild, they can also develop a bit of variety in that, so you get some more reddish ones. And then as they've been selectively bred by keepers, they are developing other tones. So you've got albinos, and the albinos come in different types. So you've got copper, proper albino. I don't know all the proper names for them, unfortunately. That's not really I'm not a morph person per se. I just like the animal. But yeah, so you've got a lot of different types, and hopefully this will be home to some of those species. Most likely to be common frogs and toads. and maybe some probably smooth newts. I'd say we get a lot around here. Haven't really seen any palmate newts or great cresteds. We thought we found some great cresteds before, but it was just a smooth newt in mating season. So that was disappointing, but hey ho, still gorgeous, and we still because they were being rehomed. Oh, actually, no, I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go back to the Hibernaculum. So, Hibernaculum, it's about 8 feet long. This one is by about 3 feet wide, 2 feet wide, maybe 2.5. And it's made up of oak, silver birch. I've tried to include as much biodiversity in there as I can. So lots of different species of moss, lots of different twigs and leaves. I've included a log that had some lovely mushrooms growing on. I'm also a mushroom person. Don't know that species, but they're gorgeous. And yeah, I've just stuffed every nook and cranny that I can get to with leaves and straw and moss. And because decaying matter is an exothermic reaction, all of these decaying leaves and logs are going to raise the temperature in here, okay? And then the leaves, we push them to the edge so it prevents any sort of wind from getting in. And the amphibians will go right to the bottom and use all of that exothermic heat to keep themselves warm over winter. And they brumate. And that is essentially where they go into a sort of sleeping state where they don't really do much. They will really slow their hearts down, they stop digesting, and they use it to conserve energy, which is why you never see any frogs in the winter. So they're all brumating. I don't know if in frogs it's called brumating or hibernating. I know, so in my snake, I brumate him every winter for about 3 months. He's a western hognose. I have White's tree frogs, dumpy tree frogs, Australian green tree frogs, whatever you want to call them. I have those. I do not brumate them. For reasons that I won't get into, because it's very difficult with them. But yeah, so I think with amphibians and reptiles, it is called brumation. I think it's hibernation when it's a mammal. Coming back to it, we've also got some lovely lichen here, and lichen is a symbiotic organism between a bacteria and a fungus. And I think there's also a third thing in there, but I can't remember. I did a study on it when I was younger. But yeah, I'll stop talking and I'll just do some camera shots. There we are, guys. So that is the Hibernaculum. I've decided actually not to show you the second one because I'm not very happy with it. I don't think it's big enough, so I'm probably going to go back and improve it before then. I'll sit down. Yeah, so I absolutely love newts, amphibians, everything like that. Me and my partner, we run a sort of rewilding conservation garden company. So we do sort of normal gardening, garden design, but our passion is to make those gardens more wild and to encourage native species to flourish, the fauna and the flora. Another spider. I also bring into that my experience as a hobby herpetologist. So when we do ponds and things like that, we love a good pond. I bring in a lot of the aquarium stuff that I know. I also do aquariums on sort of making it bioactive. And yeah, that's a little introduction to me. My partner, who I referred to earlier, Alex, he is the one that does most of the gardening. He has a background in archaeobotany, which is the historical study of plants and seeds. And then we formed our company, God, how many years ago? 2-3 years ago now. And yeah, we've been working on that ever since. I have a different job, but I do help Alex in my spare time. And obviously, like I said, I'm a hobby herpetologist, so that is my main thing that I do in my free time. Thank you for watching today. I don't even know if I'm going to post this or not. I've been watching a lot of different YouTube channels recently on this sort of thing, and sort of terrarium and vivarium design, and I just wanted to word vomit all of my thoughts because I have a lot of them. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Maybe I'll post this, maybe I won't. We'll see. Oh, I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Beth. Ta-da! That's it. Thanks for now. Bye.